Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are watching this recording. The session that I have for you today is called AgentForce Beyond CRM. Simplifying PTO requests with AgentForce. So AgentForce, you've heard a lot about it, hopefully, and that's why you're watching this video, and how amazing it can help you with your sales and your cases. But I want to think, okay, what about something else that is not CRM at all? That's what I'm calling Beyond CRM. And the use case that I decided to do, just because it's common and it's fun, I guess, is requesting PTO, paid time off, vacations, holidays, not working time. Okay, so how can we simplify the process of requesting PTO with AgentForce? All right. Although this session is not part of my job, although I do sessions for work, but this I'm recording today is Sunday 16, February 16, 2025. This is not part of the my job, but I still think that this is it's important. I don't want to get myself into trouble. I usually don't want to get Salesforce into trouble. This time I don't want to get myself into trouble. So you've seen it before, forward-looking statements. Don't base your purchase decisions based on how awesome and amazing Salesforce will be, but rather buy it for how awesome and amazing it is today. All right. And before I go any further, I do want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to watch this session. Like I said before, I'm recording it just in my personal time because I really enjoy helping people learn about Salesforce stuff. And thank you for being here watching about AgentForce today. Hopefully it will be very, very valuable for you. My name is El Andres Perez. I go in social media by El Toro IT. I work in Salesforce, but this is not done through my company as part of my job. It's done on my personal time. I feel I have to clarify that. Hopefully it's clear. I will not mention it again. I live in Canada, in Toronto, not the first state. I have a YouTube channel where I'm storing this video and some other videos before, and I also blog a lot more on Medium, toro.it. I've been with Salesforce with 16 years. Winter 09 was the very, very first release of Salesforce that I work with. And throughout the years, I've collected a series of Salesforce certifications. So let's talk about the current solutions for requesting PTO time. So I wanted to play a little bit with this topic, and I asked Perplexity, one of my one of the amazing AI tools that I use, show me the list of top 50 software options for a company that to let the employees request PTO. Display a full list including options like Workday, which that's the one we use at Salesforce, and whenever I need to work time off, I go through Workday and I request, but there must be other options. So I ask that, and we can see there's like a zillion different options right there. It just shows the first 50 options. But what do all these options have in common? All of them have one thing in common. They have complex UIs. I'm not saying that it's difficult to use, but UIs that are complex, and you have to learn to use them. And I'm sure that you do fill out PTO request forms sometimes. But is that on your job description? Would you put that in the resume? Completed 73 PTO request forms? Probably not. Because filling PTO requests are not the job. That's not what you were hired to do. But your manager and the company overall expects proper data. Because it's by government, you're allowed to take some time, and they're required to give it to you. And if you don't show up one day, they start looking for you, it's like, oh, I forgot to put PTO. No, that's actually not quite all right. Now, how frequently do you fill these forms out? Monthly? Quarterly? Once in a blue moon? Do you actually remember how to do it? Or do you actually have to do like me and go into the internet and look for a Google search, Google time off and leave of absence, and show me some videos so I can remember how it's done? Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at one of those videos.
Welcome to Workday. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to request both time off and a leave of absence. To get started, I'll click the Absence application.
Yeah, enough forms. We don't want that. We want a simpler way. God, so difficult, so frustrating, just like this fellow here, which was drawn by ChatGPT. So without AgentForce, we have to fill complex forms. There's a lot of multiple steps, and eventually you're going to have to probably edit those calendars manually. But with AgentForce, we have a natural language, English, or Spanish, or French, or whatever language you speak. But rather than filling out forms, why don't you just say, okay, I want to take PTO. Just like I will show you how we're going to do that on demo. And this is going to be automated. AgentForce is going to be doing all the processing for you. You just have to ask. Be nice, though. And all of that is because there's one thing that I've been thinking of, is that AI is the new UI. And I have a blog about this. I have an article that goes a little bit into details and explanations that the fact that AI is non-deterministic is not really for business logic, but it's great for replacing new UIs. Actually, back on December of 2024, I met a very good friend of mine who works in an insurance company here in Canada. I worked with him many years ago, and at Salesforce, and he left for the insurance company. And he says, our salespeople are actually not filling the data in the UI. And I say, oh, and why is that? And say, well, they are kind of, old. He's still a young guy. They are kind of old, and they don't like learning new UI. And say, well, why don't you use our AgentForce and talk to it? Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Because AI is the new UI. Not only for Salesforce stuff, but as I will show you, for anything, because it can go beyond CRM. So the solution that I've built, and the one that I want to demo for you today, is basically built on several components. Okay, so we have AgentForce. This is the new UI. AI is the new UI. That UI makes calls to the back end. In one option, we have Apex, which you can call RAG. Now, RAG in the demo, we're going to see was actually done in production, not in the Scratch org that I'm building. Okay, that's because the Scratch orgs, although works really, really well for AgentForce, they don't quite work with Data Cloud. And unless you do some crazy stuff, which I didn't want to go into. I'm going to call Apex, makes an API call into a production environment where I do have RAG and stuff. But Apex also calls the Google Calendar API. I'm simulating Workday or any of the other PTO request tools with Google Calendar in my demo. Okay, and I built a Heroku app which interacts, it's kind of a middleware between Apex and Google Calendar API. It will do create, read, delete, update, all the different options for PTO requests. And also one thing that you will see later, I'll talk to you about it in the demo, is that the Apex makes a call through Heroku to Google Calendar API to get a list of all the events and then it takes that list in JSON, hands it over to a prompt template, so it's pretty formatted prettier. Then it returns that and shows that as a response. We'll see that on the next demo. So the components are the AgentForce agent, obviously, which is a new UI. It was built on a Scratch org, like I mentioned. It has a series of prompt templates. One of them is to format the list of PTO requests. We also have Apex, which calls RAG in production. It also helps for authentication of the employee. We'll see that on the demo. It calls Heroku. Heroku, which is an application, or I built an application using Dino, the newer version of Node, which is actually, I decided to take this project to learn Dino, and I'm very impressed. I've been working with that Node for a long time, but Dino was actually quite good. I like it. Simple, elegant. No more Node_modules folder. If you're a Node.js programmer, you know what I'm talking about. But it's actually built on the same JavaScript, of course. Now, the Heroku also implemented business logic. I wanted them to be as close as possible to the API in case I need to rebuild this middleware for any other different application. And Heroku is the middleware, right, to interface with Google Calendar, which simulates Workday or any other of the PTO request tools that your company uses. Now, this is a particular example with PTO requests, but you can imagine it can be done for any type of application. Hopefully I can show you that and demonstrate that and prove that. So when we talk about RAG, I created the Human Resources Department Policy Guide. Actually, I did not create this. I asked ChatGPT to create it for me. And you'll see a few things in here. We have compensation and benefits, which says that we have health insurance and whatever. There's also a clause for working from home. Of course, now everybody wants to work from home, so what's the policy on that? And for what we are interested, it's pay time off, which it basically gives you a specific number of days depending on how much time you have worked with the company. This is going to be very, very important for the demo. All right, so in production, I have an agent which calls a prompt template that helps me answer a few questions. What health benefit does the company offer? Can I work from home? How much PTO am I entitled to? Okay, this is all getting information from RAG. I wanted to show you this because it's not the demo itself, but it's kind of part of the demo and the fact that it can answer any type of questions that we have. All right, so now let's go with the demo. And I'm just going to start by saying hello. And why not? Agents are taking over the world. No, they're not. Some people say that, but that's a different story. What I do want to show you is a couple of things here. If I enter hello, and we wait a couple moments until it processes that, we see here a very important section in the page, which is called the AgentForce Planner. This is what shows you what AgentForce is analyzing from your prompt. So we have the first prompt. It says here what the prompt is. And it first selects the topic. But for this one, it actually doesn't select one of the topics that I already built. It selects something that is off topic. We can take a look at the instructions in here. The user request is off topic, never answer general knowledge questions, etc., etc. So then the reasoning is that it's small talk, and then basically it generates a prompt, says, "Hi there, can I assist you today?" And that's the same prompt that we're seeing right over here. Okay. Now, once I like to personally collapse these sections once I get the answer, and that's because anything that I will see here will be from the current interaction that I just had with the agent. So then the next thing I'm going to ask about is I want to manage my PTO requests. Let's see how it handles that particular prompt or utterance. And it says here the same thing again like we saw earlier. I want to manage my PTO. This is my prompt. This is the topic that it selected, some reasoning, the agent response. And let's see what it says here. Sure, I can help you with that. Could you please provide your email address? Oh, of course, I can do that. So then I'm going to enter my email address. Now, I could enter anybody else's email address. Somebody else could enter my email address and get me into trouble. So there has to be a better way to actually identify the user. And it just came back with a response. Let's see what it says. I have sent a one-time password OTP to your email. Can you please provide the OTP you received? Oh, so one-time password. So it's going to know that it's actually my email and I entered correctly and I didn't enter somebody else's, because it's going to send me an email with a randomly generated number. Now, I can see that's happening as the result of my prompt, which is my email address. It's validate one-time password. And here it sends the email to Apex. And from Apex, it gets back a few things. One of them is something that I'm calling here the OTP agent. Now, I'm asking explicitly the agent not to display this to the customer, otherwise it wouldn't be very safe. So it generated a number, 982, and it's supposed to be sending it through an email. I decided not to build that part because I could get the number from here, but in production I would probably do that. And then I need to enter the 3 digits number, 982. We can collapse this conversation, and let's collapse that one too. And I provided the number. We see the topic. We see that it sends both my number and its number, and that's a valid number. So it gives us the response. All right, great. Your OTP has been validated successfully. How would you like to manage your PTO requests? Now, don't confuse, and trust me, in more than once I did, OTP with PTO. OTP is one-time password, and PTO is a paid time off. Okay, so when I was coding, I called it the wrong thing. I was like, why is this not compiling and stuff? It's like, oh, duh. So things like that. All right. So what is my request once I have provided the OTP? First thing I want to do, just like I show you on the slides that we go through RAG, I want to see if I'm able to get the request done from there. So the question is, how many PTO days can I take this year? Now it's analyzing that. Remember, this is built on a Scratch org. Scratch orgs don't have data cloud, but production does. So what I did was this action calls Apex. Apex calls a prompt template on production. Production calls RAG, gets the answer, I get the answer back. So one thing that it does is that it sends the employment date. This is a field, a custom field that I have on my user record. Which user? The one we identify here with a parasite Salesforce. And then it says, based on the provided dates, the employee, blah, blah, blah. This is the output. Let's make this a little bit bigger. This is the output of the prompt template that was invoked through Apex. And with that, we should be able to say, okay, you're entitled to 10.6 days this year. One of the challenges that I wanted to work with is, can I use that number that I get back as text and be able to actually use if I'm exceeding the number of days that I'm requested, that I'm allowed, that I'm entitled to request. Okay, so we're gonna see later if that actually is able to do that. But the next utterance I'm going to do, let's type that in there. I'm not really typing, but some shortcuts. I want to request, because I'm horrible at typing, I want to request 3 PTO days starting this Monday. So let's ask that question and let's wait for it to give us a result back. And let's see, what did it do? So this was the prompt. I want to request 3 PTO days. That's the prompt. It selected a topic. The topic that it selected was manage time off requests. And what it's going to do is going to call an action in Apex, which notice it sends that number that we just talked about before. In the previous answer, I had 10.6 days. So now it's actually doing that. I want to start on the 17th, which is this Monday. This is me, validated through OTP, and email address, and I'm requesting for 3 days. And what I get back are some IDs of the events that it creates. All right, good. So your request for the 3 PTO days starting this Monday has been successfully created. Is there anything else I want you to do? Oh, before we move on, let's switch and see that in Google's calendar, we actually see that those dates were actually requested. All right, you can see here, we have the calendar, we have 3 days requested, just like we asked. All right, let's go back to the agent. All right, so now we're gonna do the next utterance or prompt, which is, I need to request 2.5 hours of PTO for this Friday, started at 11 a.m. So let's ask that. In the meantime, we can collapse this. I like to work with this collapsed, as I mentioned before. So anything that I see is because of what just happened. So same topic, and now it's making a request, and it's for 11 a.m. until 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m. because it's for 2.5 hours. And it got the record created. All right, good. Let's go back into Google Calendar. Let's see that actually that request was actually created. It's beautiful for Friday. Fantastic. So now we can go back to the agent. All right. So the next thing I want to ask is another similar one, which is DM06, which reads, I want to request 3 more PTO days starting a week from Monday. All right, I'm taking 3 this Monday and 3 next Monday. So let's go with that. In the meantime, we can collapse this. All right. It looks like your request, okay, well, let's see what happens first. So let's analyze it. I always go through the planner when you're building it. When you want to test it, that was the prompt. It goes through the right subject. Now this is the action it's going to create. It's 3 days starting on the 24th. Oh, there's an error. Request has been denied. Oh gosh. This request exceeds the amount of hours you are entitled to request per year. You have taken 9.3 days. 9.3 days? I already took 3 plus 3 days plus 2.5 hours. Wait, that math doesn't work out. So the request confirms what I just stated. It looks like your request exceeds the amount of PTO days you are entitled for this year. You have already taken 9.3 days of your 10.6. And if I was going to take 3 more, that would take me to 12. Yeah, because I only have 1.3 hours. Okay. So let's actually do this next utterance. Show me the list of PTO requests I have made this year. And in the meantime, let's collapse that while we wait for the answer to come back. It's analyzing that. And very soon, we're going to get an answer back. Finishing up. All right, so let's first analyze what actually happened. My prompt was, show me the PTO, show me the list of PTO requests I have made this year. We see that prompt and it's selecting the right topic. And then we're gonna call an Apex class, which is a view list of PTO requests for this employee. It comes back saying that, let's make this a little bit larger and let's scroll. All right, good. So 10 PTO requests active, size 10, and these are the items. Now I want you to take a look at this. Is a JSON string or JSON format data or whatever, but this looks very nice, not as ugly as that. And the reason for that is because once we get the JSON list, let's collapse this for a little bit and go here and we're going to expand this. It's sending the same JSON into a prompt template, and the prompt will actually format it for us in a very nicely fashion. And we can see indeed that we get a nicely format, and that's through the help of a prompt template. And we see the 3 days that we requested, that's fine. And oops, hold on. And the 2 hours. Oh, I had already, before I did the demo, I had already requested my summer time off. So including all the things, it is actually counting for whatever number it was, 9.3 days. Okay? All right. So it's because I already had requested summer before I did the demo. All right. So then we can take a look at the next utterance. Actually, let's collapse this in the meantime. Again, let's try. I like to keep it clean. I already did that. TM08. Can you give me more information for the request for this Friday? So out of that list, pick the one that is for this Friday, which should be the one for 2.5 hours, and give me information for that. So what did it do? Excuse me. What did it do? It actually gives me information. It is for the 21st. It is 11 a.m. Ends at it goes from 11 to 1:30 p.m. It's for 2 hours, and it's confirmed. All right. Is there anything else I need you to do? Well, actually, while I was recording this, I got a phone call, and it was for my doctor appointment. Although I'm recording this on Sunday, he doesn't work on Sundays, so I'll pretend. And the call says that they want to meet me this Monday because it's actually going to be. They really need me to go to the doctor. Hopefully, it's to give me money. Yeah, right. And nothing serious with my health. Again, this is all pretend, so don't scare. All right. So can you move it to this Monday? All right. I want to move that one, the one for Friday, into Monday. And here comes something that I've seen happening a few times, is that because it takes long for me to respond or something, it kind of times out, I think, or it just decided that it wanted to revalidate who I was. So I'm going to do that. Could you please provide your email address? All right, I'm gonna do that. I have that already stored in here. So I got my email address. And actually this will help me show you something else. Notice that the code that it was already assigned to us, that was just assigned to me, it was 282. So I'm gonna type that in here. But that actually shows, and let's call that. And well, that is trying to see if that is the actual OTP. It says that it's successfully validated. But notice something here. The first one, because this is randomly, the first one was 982. This one is 282. So, well, it's interesting. It's 82. All right, it's a random number, so something could have happened. It could have been anything else. So 282. All right, so now that is validated. Okay, I want to ask you the same question then. DM09 is, can you move this one? Can you move it to this Monday? It looks like there's already a PTO request for this Monday. Oh yeah, of course, I had 3 days requested. So I think I may not even need, I cannot double book PTO requests. I think I'm gonna have to go to a doctor appointment on my time off that I already had. So in that case, well, then, oops, wrong code. Well, in that case, just delete it. All right, so let's collapse all of that. Let's see if it is able to delete it. Actually, it looks like it is. And to confirm that, we can actually ask for the URLs that I have for show the list of events this year. And we had a list with the 2.5 hours that should have been deleted. Let's see how the data is now, data is now listed and formatted with the help of the prompt builder. Let's collapse this while we wait. And we can see that indeed the prompt template formats the data correctly, and there's no PTO for 2.5 hours. And actually we can go back into Google Calendar and see that indeed it actually has it removed, and we can actually see the whole calendar for 9 days, or for the whole year. All right, let's go back to the agent. All right, let's collapse all of this. I think that's enough. I've shown you a few things how the AI can actually, I don't have to learn any forms. I don't have to learn wizard interfaces, UIs, forms, pickle. I don't have to learn any of that. I just type whatever I want to type. That is going to be really, really cool. All right. So one last idea I want to share with you. I've been thinking about this as I've been working on my demo and building this demo. Computer programming has evolved over time. So I actually wrote another blog in Medium. I've been writing quite a bit. I highly recommend you guys take time and go and read those blogs. The one here is called Computer Programming Brief History. Okay, and it's how the history of computer programming, not necessarily computers itself, but programming, has actually evolved over time. And everything started on 1830s, just about, where Charles Babbage created the analytical engine. Now, he never saw it built. He only drew the plans on paper. But actually, some historians found those plans and decided, let's try to build a machine and see if that guy was crazy enough to build something that worked, or was crazy and his idea didn't work. Now, there was also a programmer back then. You may have heard of Ada Lovelace. I think that's her last name. And who was the programmer for this particular engine. All right. Actually, I had the opportunity to see this in action. Amazing technology from the 1830s. Look at those things spin. It's so incredible, and it does the calculation, and it formulates or prints out some tables and stuff. It's really, really, really wicked. I had the opportunity, very lucky, to be able to see that machine on California, on the Computer History Museum. All right. We had to wait until 100 years for something to happen around computers. And this was with the when the very, very first computer was built. Yes, that is one single computer. It's huge. It used a whole room by itself. But I also want you to notice something interesting in this picture. What are those ladies doing? Those ladies are hooking up cables. That's how you programmed the ENIAC. You didn't write code. Code was a much later invention. These ladies are actually programming the ENIAC. Amazing. But of course, that was not very efficient. So they came up on the 1950s with the first language, which was assembly, of course, or machine code, right? So this was also something very revolutionary. Be able to store in memory the program that is going to be running and then change it and run it every time. But there was crazy amount of stuff. Like if you wanted to, this is the code to do a hello world. Yes, crazy. All right. Then in 1960s came COBOL, Fortran. I don't know how many of you have watched a movie called Hidden Figures. I highly recommend you do. You find it and watch it. It's an amazing historic. And one of the things that is really funny and interesting is that back then, Mary Jackson, that's a real picture of her, she was a computer. Because at that time, computers was a profession of people who compute. And they did a lot of calculations on calculators, and then they brought into NASA a new machine that was going to be able to calculate things for her or for that team, and they didn't call it the computer because the computer was a profession. She was a computer. They call it the IBM machine. At least that's what the movie says. I don't know how much fiction there is into it, but the story is really, really amazing. Then something really happened revolutionary in 1970s, which is the introduction of computer programming to the hobbyist, right? So it was not on universities and NASA and stuff like that. It came into the hands of people with a machine which was called the Altair 8800, right? And you maybe recognize the fellow in the picture. That's actually an older picture of him, Bill Gates, who started Microsoft by creating some operating system, DOS, disk operating system, MS-DOS, creating that in Altair, right? Created a company called Microsoft that I'm sure you have heard about. And one of the cool, interesting aspects of the code itself, which you can see on the bottom, well, actually in the center of this picture, is that each line was numbered, and then you have a loop just like that. So this is the same hello world that I show you in assembler, but now in a different language. Okay, so if it is less than 100, go to 20. So this code goes back to this line over here. But if it is whatever, go to 50 and whatever. So it's actually quite interesting. But it was revolutionary at the time because now anybody could start learning programming, and that was my first language. All right. Then few more things happen. I'm going to go slow. Now things you probably familiar with the story now. 1980s, we have C and databases, relational databases. 1990s, we have object-oriented programming, languages like C++ and Java. In the 2000s, we have web computing, like JavaScript became popular. In 2010s, there was a new kind of paradigm, not a really significant one, but an important one, called microservices. But then in 2020, there's a huge new revolution with AI, and specifically with Salesforce AgentForce, which is agentic development. Because the way that you develop is different. We don't use punch cards anymore, okay? We don't use assembly language. In a business level, maybe if you're building some system drivers, whatever, yeah, you still have to do assembler or whatnot. But we don't do cable programming anymore, right? So things have evolved, and I believe that we are facing a next evolution in that. I am very passionate about history, and I've written a lot about history, and I actually have one particular blog that if you're interested and you want to learn more about the history, highly recommend, and how we got to where we are with the agentic development. I highly recommend you take a look at this article. There's a QR code for that, so you're welcome to read that. All right, so last slide, I promise. It's building agents versus programming. How is it different? Okay, and more importantly, what did I learn and what I can teach you and what you should learn from this demo or from this new way of building agentic development. AI is UI, not software. What that means, first, move your business logic out of the agent. There's no business for business logic in the agent. That should be moved into Apex flows or the APIs, just like I did on the Heroku with the Dino app. What we're going to be end up building is a microservice architecture. Microservices follow a very important principle, which is called the atomicity, which is each API function must do one thing and do it well. Know how to create records, know how to delete records, right? There's one to create and one to delete. Very, very microservice-oriented technology. Now, be very specific in the language. AI is not deterministic. And we don't have a compiler for that. And sometimes you say things that you should imply something, but if there's something that you're implying, AgentForce is not going to guess it for you. For example, it happened at one time. Say, okay, I want you to number the steps in this list or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something like that. I want you to number the list. The list. You know what it did? It gave me 5. That was the output. 5. Why? Because there are 5 items. It didn't say 1 x 2 dot 3 dot. So I was implying that it should put numbers next to each of the bullets in the list. That's not what it did. It just gave me the number 5 because I asked, okay, number of elements 5, not which elements, right? So you got to be very, very specific on your language. I don't know if you heard this joke, and I'm gonna apologize, but I'm gonna tell it to you. There, the story about a computer science and his wife. So the wife tells the computer scientist, go to the store and buy milk. If there's eggs, bring 12. A few hours later, the development comes back from the store with 12 bags of milk. And then the wife asks him, why did you bring so many bags of milk? And then the computer programmer says, well, there were eggs. If there's eggs, bring 12. So he brought 12 bags of milk. He was going to go for 1 bag of milk, but he brought 12 bags of milk because there were eggs. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Dad jokes. But it shows the importance of language. She was implying that the computer programmer should bring 12 eggs, of course. But the computer programmer was like an agent. They don't assume. Which also brings me to the next topic. Agents will follow these words strictly. Must, never, and always. But if you mean like almost never or most of the time, don't do always. Because always going to be always. Not most of the time. Don't assume. Don't imply. It's a new programming paradigm. We talk about that, the history of the evolution. That's why I spent some time talking about how we have adopted, or the industry maybe, because we probably didn't start. I didn't get to work on the Babbage analytical engine. Well, actually, nobody did, except the museum. Very few people got to work in ENIAC. I didn't get to work on that. I didn't get to work in mainframes like the IBM computer, IBM machine. The machine, I don't remember what it's called, but it was not called a computer. All right, so new paradigms, right? That's why I spend so much time on that particular topic. And there's a couple of things here that are important to help you understand a little better what I'm talking about. With AgentForce, you establish guardrails. Don't answer any question if the OTP has not been validated. That's a guardrail. Rather than handling exceptions like you do in programming, you establish guardrails. Likewise, rather than designing forms and what happens if you click this button or if they type this, you need to give clarifying questions. If the user say, I want to take PTO, okay, ask when. Okay, so ask clarifying questions. And AgentForce, it's built in 3 major components: topics, instructions, and actions. Topics is what classifies your instructions. Instructions will tell which actions to execute. And the action planner, just like we saw in the demo, is your new system.debug. I've written a lot of blog about in Medium. This is the QR code for my blog in general, of multiple series of articles about AgentForce and AI and things of this nature, which has helped me understand a little bit better the AgentForce technology and how to actually help you build it. So go ahead. Please feel free to subscribe and read the articles in there. You'll find a lot of really good information. All right, and with that, I want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully you have a little bit better understanding that the AgentForce can allow you to not only build things for Salesforce CRM, but it could help you build things for any type of application. In this case, we use a PTO request just because I needed to pick an example, but it could have been anything else. Supply chain management, something that has some complex UI forms that a lot of people don't use because they don't want to learn how to work with the forms. It would be very, very good to start thinking about them with AgentForce. Like I say at the beginning of this session, I'm doing this on my free will and time. So please consider buying me a virtual cup of coffee. That would be very much appreciated. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you. Leave me comments. Tell me what you want to learn. Give me feedback. I will be very, very much appreciated, and put that feedback into new videos or new blogs. And like I said before, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.